What's up, everybody, and welcome to the premiere episode of Pelicans Daily, brought to you by Fan Arch. I am your host, David Grubb, editor in chief of thebirdrights.com. I'll be with you every day bringing you news, game previews, and recaps, trade rumors, draft previews, and whatever else you want and need to know about your New Orleans Pelicans. If you followed me in my work covering the Pelicans for the last few years, thank you so much for your continued support. If you're new, expect no punches pulled and as much insight as you can take. If you love basketball, here is the spot. So let's go ahead and get into it. First, all right, Pelicans fans, it was a rough weekend for the Pels. We start in Houston, where for the second time in 3 days, the Houston Rockets absolutely ran through the New Orleans Pelicans. That time with a 146 to 117 blowout. And look, we knew Houston was going to be a tough matchup, but man, this one wasn't even close. Honestly, the way the Pelicans lost was far more concerning than the loss itself. The Rockets wasted no time in that one, setting the tone. Dylan Brooks, yes, that Dylan Brooks torched the Pelicans once again, this time for 27 points, hitting 7 3-pointers. To put his night in perspective, Dylan Brooks has 9 20-point games this season. 2 of those have come against the Pelicans. He has 7 games with at least 5 3-pointers. 2 against you guessed it, New Orleans Pelicans. Alfred Sengun and Aaron Holiday both chipped in 20 points each, as the Rockets ended up with 7 players in double figures. They shot over 55% from the floor, nearly 43% from deep. Meanwhile, the Pelicans looked absolutely lost defensively, letting Houston dictate the tempo from the jump. It was one of those nights where you just knew early on that things were going south. In the second quarter, the Pelicans had their only real run of the game, but the Rockets put an end to the game by closing out the first half on a 12-5 run of their own over the last couple of minutes to go up 15 at the break. The third quarter, that was just an abomination. Houston eliminated any hope for a comeback with 35 points in the period. The Rockets had 109 points by the end of the third quarter. And frankly, it looked like the Pelicans quit in that ball game. I don't know if they quit on the game or head coach Willie Green, but they certainly stopped competing. No matter how bad things get, that cannot happen. The frustration for Zion Williamson was evident as well. He only got to the free throw line 2 times after getting 12 free throw attempts at home in the previous loss to the Rockets a couple of nights earlier. You didn't see a lot of fight from the Pelicans as far as with the referees and just kind of engaging there. And that's one of those criticisms that Willie Green has gotten, is that he does not speak up and fight for his players in the moment. And you didn't really see that from the bench then. That might have been one of those games where you go ahead and take that technical foul or both and get thrown out of it just to show some passion, to show some fight. I know a lot of that can be performative, but there are times when performances are needed. And the Pelicans as a team did not perform well against the Rockets. The Rockets are a very talented team. They are long, they are athletic, they are great defensively, a top 5 defensive unit. But they have a middling offense over the course of this season. And they have simply lit up the New Orleans Pelicans in 4 games. And they earned their first ever sweep of the New Orleans Pelicans since the franchise joined the Western Conference. You got to remember, you got to go all the way back to when the Pelicans were still a member of the Eastern Conference for the last time the Rockets swept the season series. And that's when it was just 2 games. So this was a historic loss for the Pelicans. In the 4 games against the Rockets this year, the Pelicans have gave up an average of 129 points per game. That's 16 more than the Rockets average this season. They made a team that ranks in the bottom 10 in shooting, 3-point percentage, look like the 73-win Warriors. The Rockets absolutely bullied the Pelicans all season long. I get it. It's a long season, but the effort against the Rockets in particular, unacceptable. But hey, the Pelicans had no time to dwell on that beatdown. They were right back at it, at home on Sunday night against another division rival, the Memphis Grizzlies. All right. So what happened on Sunday against Memphis? The Pelicans were shorthanded again, which they have been throughout the season, but in particular against the Grizzlies, they were very shorthanded. Zion Williamson and CJ McCollum both sat this one out. CJ took some rest, and Zion was out for a return to play protocols, as he's been this season, to manage his hamstring injury. But also, hey, look, let's be honest, it's part of the soft tanking that the Pelicans have done. There has not been a full-on tank like you see in Utah, where the Pelicans rest all of their starters. You haven't seen where the Pelicans have just taken losses. They have, I guess you could consider this a scheduled loss. The interesting thing is that Zion Williamson didn't play in a home game. We'll get to a number about that a little bit later in the podcast. You didn't get much of a reason to expect that the Pelicans were going to win against the Grizzlies, especially considering that the Pelicans came into this one 0-3 against the Grizzlies in their previous matchups this season. I was there at the Smoothie King Center, and early on, the Pelicans actually looked pretty good. Trey Murphy came out of the gates fast, and he ended up leading the Pelicans with 27 points in this one. He looked really good at times. Trey playing really as a one-man show at times, kind of ignoring the other guys on the floor and just focused on his own offense. You saw him frustrated at the end of that Rockets game. I think that frustration carried over to his performance against the Grizzlies. But he did have maybe the highlight of the season for the New Orleans Pelicans, an incredible backward alley-oop off a full court pass from Jose Alvarado. Oh my goodness, it was just, I don't know how Trey completed that one, but again, he continues to show just his elite athleticism for this team. And as Antonio Daniels has talked about it over and over again with Trey, he's a guy capable of winning both the slam dunk contest and the three-point shooting contest in All-Star Weekend. Jose Alvarado had a very good night for himself, finishing with 11 points and setting a new career high with 11 assists. More on him in a moment as well. Rookie Antonio Reeves, who got called up from Birmingham and certainly looks like he deserves more run with this team, gave them a spark off the bench. He made all three of his first half three-point attempts, as New Orleans actually had the lead at the half 64-57. But then, as it has so often this season, then came a third quarter where the Pelicans just struggled tremendously. And the struggle here was, frankly, kind of embarrassing. Memphis outscored the Pelicans 32-15 in the third quarter, flipping a 7-point deficit into a 10-point lead. Ja Morant and Desmond Bane took over. Those two finished with 32 points and 30 points, respectively. On the boards, that's where the Grizzlies really dominated, again, giving the Pelicans all kinds of trouble with a physical matchup, their length, their strength too much. Even with Jaren Jackson sitting in on the sidelines in street clothes, they out-rebounded New Orleans 57-39, including a huge 23-10 advantage on the offensive boards. So many key shots for the Grizzlies, whether it didn't matter the point of the game, came off of second chance shot attempts, particularly Ja Morant's three-pointers. It seemed like almost all of them came on second chances. That physicality just wore the Pelicans down all night long. But the Pelicans did continue to fight. They actually made it a one-possession game late in the fourth quarter. And the closing seconds, they had a chance to force overtime after Morant missed a free throw. Jose Alvarado had a clean look at three. He missed. Jordan Hawkins got the offensive board, kicked it to Kelly Olynyk, but he missed as well. Pelicans lost the ball game. After the game, Willie Green made it clear that he was proud of the effort, given the back-to-back schedule, the quality of the opponent. He felt like the team responded the right way to that embarrassing loss to the Rockets. He also acknowledged that there are plenty of things that this team needs to clean up, especially when it comes to rebounding the basketball and maintaining the energy for full four quarters. But we have heard that all season long. I mean, it's not going to get cleaned up at this point. This is what the team is. This is going to continue to happen. Maybe you get it right for next year, but this year, the defense is going to continue to be bad. The rebounding is continued to be bad. The physicality is teams that are bigger, stronger, faster, just going to be a matchup nightmare for the New Orleans Pelicans. Aside from Trey Murphy's big night and Jose Alvarado's double-double, he also got a double-double out of Carlo Matkovic, who made his presence felt off the bench with 13 points and 11 rebounds. His second career double-double. The Pelicans reserves outscored the Memphis bench 32-23. Yves Missi almost had a double-double of his own, 9 points and 10 boards for him. Still, a loss is a loss, and this one extended the Pelicans' current losing streak to 4 games. Zion Williamson and Trey Murphy are certainly the foundational pieces for the Pelicans as you look ahead to next year. But if the Pels are going to get back on track next season, they still need competent role players. Jose Alvarado has been a fan favorite since he arrived 4 seasons ago. And this season, Jose's making the case that he should be a part of the Pelicans' future. A lot of what people value about Jose Alvarado is intangible. Words like energy and passion get thrown around a lot. But Jose has numbers this season that show he has improved as an all-around contributor. He's averaging career highs in points, assists, steals, and minutes. He's second on the Pelicans in three-point percentage and fourth on the team in made threes. Well, Alvarado also ranks third in the entire league in assist to turnover ratio, trailing only Chris Paul and Tyrese Halliburton. And the Pelicans are statistically better, both offensively and defensively, when he's on the floor. Finally, you can't underestimate the intangibles that he brings to the team when it comes to his relationship with both Zion Williamson and Trey Murphy. Jose puts that battery in Zion Williamson's back, and Z seems to feed off that energy. Certainly, Pelicans would rather him feed off that than anything else. But there are reasons for concern when it comes to Jose. As of Monday, March 9th, the Pelicans have 17 games remaining in the season. If Jose Alvarado plays in every game the rest of the way, he will have played in 58 games this season. That would give him an average for his career of just over 57 games per season after 4 years, with only one season in his career with more than 60 games played. He has a long list of injuries, including stress fractures, hamstring strains, and so on and so forth. And Jose, look, he's a small guy, listed at 6 feet tall and weighing at about 179 pounds. He's overachieved just by making it to the NBA. An undrafted player out of Georgia Tech, he shouldn't be here. And this league is getting nothing but bigger, stronger, and faster. His effectiveness also seems to have a very distinct time limit. The Pelicans are 3-12 this season when Jose Alvarado plays more than 25 minutes in a ball game and 12-14 in his other appearances. During the Pelicans' 49-win season a year ago, Jose only topped 25 minutes 5 times. The Pelicans did go undefeated in those games, but they also had stronger overall lineups. Overall, the Pelicans are 19-23. That's a winning percentage of roughly 45% in those games where Jose plays extended minutes. His value is as a high-level second unit performer. But the Pelicans have to be very judicious in how they use him, whether that's due to his diminishing returns over the course of a game or those injury concerns. They've got to be careful with how they use Jose Alvarado. He's under contract for 2 more seasons at $4.5 million annually. The Pelicans have to wonder if this offseason is the time to sell high on Jose Alvarado, especially considering that DeJounte Murray and Herb Jones will both likely miss the start of next season. The New Orleans Pelicans need to find a starting caliber point guard to fill in and one who can stay healthy. Jose is many things, but he is neither one of those. Jose Alvarado and the Pelicans have 2 more games left on their current 3-game homestand, and things will not get any easier for the New Orleans Pelicans. They take on the Los Angeles Clippers on Tuesday and the Orlando Magic at home on Thursday. It's the second of 3 games against the Clippers. The Pelicans narrowly lost the first game in this series at home in December, falling to LA 116-113. Norman Powell, James Harden, and Ivica Zubac combined for 82 points in that game, while CJ McCollum was the only Pelican to score 20 or more, going off for 33 points, though Trey Murphy did have 18 as well. The Pelicans will likely have Zion Williamson available after he took off Sunday night. He'll have Monday night off as well to rest, but they won't have Herb Jones to slow down Powell or Harden. The silver lining is that the Clippers haven't been at their best lately. It doesn't seem to matter, though, if the Pelicans are at their best or not when they play the Orlando Magic. The Magic have won 6 in a row against the Pelicans and 11 of the last 13 in this series. Pelicans haven't beaten Orlando at home since January 18th, 2017. How long ago was that? New Orleans' starting lineup that night consisted of Anthony Davis, Drew Holiday, Dante Cunningham, Buddy Hield, and Solomon Hill. Only 9 games are remaining on the home schedule. So here's your final fun fact of the day. That's also the same number of home games that Zion Williamson has played this season. We'll see how many of those Zion appears in the rest of the way. You'd have to hope that of these final 17 games, Zion Williamson plays most of the home schedule at the very least. Give the fans who have worked and paid so much to watch this disaster of a season, give them something to cheer about. At least let them watch their franchise player. All right, folks, that's going to be a wrap for this very first episode of Pelicans Daily. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to comment below, like, and subscribe. Share it with your friends, share it with your fans. Please let me know what you think about everything we've talked about here today. I'll be back tomorrow. Of course, you can follow me on social media at DM Grubb, as well as check out thebirdrights.com for more Pelicans coverage. Until the next time, take care.